All right. If you're just joining, just kind of waiting for a few others to get in here to the room, but I think we'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, good morning, happy Tuesday, wherever you're joining in from. We're glad to see you here. My name's Jenna Baird. I'm the Senior Manager of Product Marketing here at Buildertrend, and let's talk about the problem that nobody in construction wants to talk about. It's the $280 billion problem that we see in our industry, just slow payments. Think of it this way: with every day that you're waiting to collect money from a client, you're essentially giving them a zero interest loan with no terms attached and all the risk on you. So today we're flipping the script. I've got a panel with me, and we're really here to hear from our own builders that are using Buildertrend to understand how they've really turned around their receivables process and seen a real growth engine within their own company and removed some of the bottlenecking issues that they were having. We'll break down real world strategies for job costing, invoicing, and payments that could get you paid faster with less friction and more control. What's in it for you? I mean, we really want you to hear these real stories. We'll hear how they've seen these processes really make an impact at their business. We'll also show you a very quick walkthrough at the end of Buildertrend Payments, and so that you can walk away with some actionable steps to help really kickstart how you can see change with your billing process. But before we do that, let's do a quick round of introductions. We've got Elizabeth Splan from Basements Plus, Sarah Kate Hartt with Buildertrend, and Alyssa Koepp with Northside Builders. So Alyssa, you want to get us started?
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. Happy to be on the call with you today. So my name is Alyssa Koepp, and I'm the Director of Business Operations at Northside Builders. We're out of Atlanta, Georgia. And a little bit more about the company. So we do primarily custom new build homes. We also do, everything from kitchens, bathrooms, additions, kind of a little bit of everything. But I'd say the bread and butter is definitely custom new builds. And in terms of our pricing structure, we're predominantly cost plus. So a lot of the perspectives that I have today on the call will be coming, from that angle of being a cost plus builder. Um, and yeah, I'm excited to be on the call and talk about how much converting over to Buildertrend Payments has helped us grow our business, even in just the last year exponentially. So yeah, excited to get into it.
Awesome. Elizabeth?
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Splan. I am the Director of Finance and COO of Basements Plus. We are a fixed cost construction company. We primarily focus on basement finishing and basement remodeling. We have done some kitchen and bath remodel in the upstairs, but our main focus is definitely in the basements. Looking forward to helping with some bottlenecks that we faced and sharing some of those stories, and definitely showcasing how Buildertrend Payments have definitely cleared the way to make cash flow and everything much simpler in our world.
Awesome. Glad to have you both here. Yeah, and Sarah Kate, last but not least.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah Kate Hartt. I'm Senior Product Manager at Buildertrend. I focus primarily on payables and receivables financial workflows, including client and trade payments. Very excited to be here with you all. Thanks for making the time.
Absolutely. Well, let's dive in. It's a little Q&A in the chat. I see some of you have already kind of dropped in welcomes. Hi, Andrew. Hi, Al. Quick question for everybody that's joining. What has been your most common AR pain point up to this point? Like, what are you really trying to want to understand from today, or that you've been talking with your teams? And we can kind of give some sneak peeks of what we might be speaking to in a little bit as well. But at any point today, if you have questions, please use the Q&A function. We have some moderators also on the call from Buildertrend that will get in and kind of answer as we go, but we will have time at the very end too for some live Q&A so that we can come back to anything that has not been answered. So while you're dropping in thoughts, I'll kind of give an overview of the state of AR in construction. We all know, like, whether it's waiting on checks, chasing down clients, reconciling spreadsheets, delayed payments just really mess with our workflow as a whole. They put your entire business at risk, and it really is the silent killer of growth. They slow down the ability to get trades paid, take on some of those bigger jobs, and really grow your business with confidence. And in many cases, the issue isn't just some of our AR processes. It could be just slow paying clients. So invoices might go out, late. There might be some inconsistent follow-ups on your side, but reconciliation just gets pushed back to the back burner a lot of the times because we have so many other priorities are going on with the project, or other projects that we have running. And when clients are ready to pay, a really manual or fragmented receivables process could make it even harder than it should be. So on the flip side of that, when clients do stall, there's usually a reason, and things that we are, trying to build processes around to help you figure out where some of those pain points could be truly reconciled. There's confusing invoices, there might be some missing detail, or no just easy way to pay online. There's no automated reminders, and what could be a 2-day turnaround is turning into something that stretches into weeks, maybe even months at times. I'm sure we all have an experience that we could relate to on that. These aren't just operational headaches for you and everybody on your team. They really are growth limiters of like, what is that next step for me? How can I continue to level up my business? How can I continue to get more jobs in the door? Every little delay ties up some of your cash, slows your ability to pay, and really puts that pressure on. It's not uncommon for the payment periods to go longer than we anticipate. So we're really here to try to help kind of find some of the solution gapping that we can take away and add some of those 5-10 hours that you're experiencing a week with follow-ups on just creating a more easily reconcilable way to get paid. So what does this actually look like in the field? I want to hand it over to Elizabeth and Alyssa to kind of give us some initial insight. What is kind of a moment that you can identify of when a slow payment has really stung? And what was was there an indicator of how we can make this better and how you've seen change from one of those experiences?
Sure, I can start. Yeah, so I joined Northside about a year ago, and right off the bat, there was a number of homeowners that would pay us with, physical check. And I'll use the term homeowner and client interchangeably, as I'm talking here today. But yeah, a number of them that would pay us with a physical check. And so it was a matter of us quite literally driving around town to track them down, to pick up these checks, to then drive them to the bank, and or they're mailing us a check and it's lost in the mail. And so that just significantly impacted our cash flow and our ability to turn around and pay out our subs when we're waiting on the homeowners, to get that payment to us. And so it was, I'd say, more frequent than not, at the beginning, that we're quite literally chasing everybody around town.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge time suck, right? Like finding an unlock for that, that you can quantify the time into like how you are seeing return for the business. So great. Elizabeth, what about you?
So ours definitely fell into the cash flow side of it. So with the checks and the delays and our salesmen bringing checks to us, our project managers having to bring a check, same type of thing, driving around collecting, it created a cash flow situation when we got to a point years ago before we switched to the online payments of, are we going to be able to pay vendors? Are we going to be able to pay? We had plenty of, you know, receivables out there to make these payments, but the timely processing of them was a challenge, not to mention the efficiency loss of having to drive to the bank. And if you need it daily or weekly, you know, so, and with change orders for us as well, it created such a seamless transition to our cash flow. I had said this before and I thought it was well received. I went from checking the bank out of need to checking the bank for fun.
Fun with payments. That's amazing.
Yes, for sure.
Awesome. Well, I know Sarah Kate has a little bit that she wants to add here too, in terms of like what she's really seen with working some of the some more builders alongside Elizabeth and Alyssa around just really how to kind of implement this. So Sarah Kate, I can kind of hand it to you before we get into some more questions.
Sure.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we've just heard two examples that prove the fact that managing cash flow is not easy, especially in the construction space. But the builders who stay ahead don't rely on luck. They really are getting paid faster and maintaining a strong cash flow position because they've built the right habits. And Alyssa and Elizabeth's teams are two examples of really strong performing teams that have taken the time in the last few years to get those habits in place so that their cash flow position remains strong. On Buildertrend teams across every part of the business, we are speaking with builders every day. It's one of my favorite parts of the job. And from thousands of conversations that our teams have had, top performing builders with strong cash flow follow a pretty consistent playbook. No matter what contract type or what types of projects that they're taking on. I knew this was going to happen. These are the challenges of working from home when I get a surprise knock on the door. But here is what some of those builders do differently, and kind of three pillars of that that strong playbook that we see. So it starts with a commitment to process discipline, setting clear expectations upfront with clients and following through every time. So Andrew, I believe, had a comment in the chat about, one of the AR pain points being to do with high need clients and kind of how to manage those relationships and manage client expectations and really be in the driver's seat when it comes to your incoming cash flow. Elizabeth and I were chatting last week about changes their team recently made to their contract to set clear and really advantageous payment terms upfront and sticking to those. I think timely standardized invoicing across all jobs is another key piece here. So one interesting insight that comes up a lot on conversations with builders is that close to a third of the builders who experience payment delays in our conversations and industry-wide, if you look at survey data, say that those delays are due to the fact that their team forgot to invoice. And so having kind of these standard processes in place to mitigate some of that risk is really pretty key. When invoicing is consistent, clients know what to expect, which leads to faster turnarounds with fewer questions. And so that brings us to kind of the next point. And so we've got process discipline, internal accountability, consistency is huge. It helps teams stay very on the ball. If you were to try to replicate manually what a system can help you accomplish for the 5, 10, 20, sometimes 100 jobs, I know, for example, Basements Plus does a really high volume of jobs at one time. You have a much easier time guaranteeing kind of a consistent experience for your clients if you're leveraging a repeatable system that you can follow. And so the second piece here is client experience. So make it easy and transparent and professional for clients to pay and eliminate the guesswork on their end. I think to the extent teams can help their clients realize that they are in control and they've got a great process to follow, we've seen teams be really successful there. Alyssa can speak to this because they've done a really great job here, but clean, error-free invoices is one kind of great first step. Make sure that when clients receive their request for payment, they don't have questions and they don't have things that they need to discuss with you because the information they need to make their next step is right there. Online payment options is a big one. We've heard, now 2 times already on this call about the pains of driving around town, let alone the mileage and the gas and the staff time. Automating reminders to cut down on awkward conversations is a big piece of this. So follow-up is kind of the easiest thing to want to procrastinate. When it's automated for you, it helps to keep the money coming in and allows you to build a very different kind of relationship with your clients. One that is less transactional and more focused on the nature of the job and the dream home or the dream project that you're bringing to life for them. And then the post-payment follow-up. So it benefits you for clients to have clarity before and after payment, as much as it's not comfortable for your team to be wondering, did we get that $100,000 payment from Bob and Linda? Bob and Linda don't want to be wondering if you got their $100,000 payment either. When clients are able to pay through your system of engagement and everybody's looped in right away, you're eliminating client confusion, you're eliminating yet another touch point. And then the third pillar that we see these teams using consistently is just system integration. So successful teams are finding a way to not only minimize the number of systems in play, but also making sure that those systems are talking to one another and everything's tied in for one seamless flow of financial information. So that billing is really embedded in your project and job costing flow. It's not something separate. So excited to hear from our panelists today to learn kind of how they've got rolling. I've been very inspired by their success in this area. And probably many of you on this call also have, pain points, but success stories as well. And so Alyssa, Elizabeth, you've set a really solid foundation for, to support your company's growth, and we'd love to get into some questions and kind of hear stories from your teams. So I think to start it off, if you could walk us through, I know we kind of started the top of this call with what are some of the pain points, but it would be really great to kind of get a clear view of what the before looked like. What was your billing process like when it was more manual, and what were some of the biggest pain points there?
Sure, I can jump in first this time. So we did spreadsheets, and we had Post-it notes at some point passing between the project managers and the accounting department. And, hey, don't forget to collect this payment. So it definitely didn't work. Lots of stuff was missed. And the communication between our accounting software and Buildertrend wasn't set, it was our fault. It wasn't set and working properly. So, homeowners would just get told, project manager would walk into their home and say, okay, you have a draw due today, no clarity, so in utilizing the payments and the schedule and all that Buildertrend has to offer, linking for us, because we are, a fixed cost, linking that payment, setting that example in the contract. You have a 20% scheduling deposit, a 20% measure draw, a 20% start, 30% trim draw, and a 10% completion. They know about it up front. It's linked right into their schedule. They get notified when a week out before it's due. If they have the excuse of moving money, I've got to pull it out of this investment account, all that goes away because there's clarity from the time they sign the contract to the end of the job. Also, one of the great feedbacks I've heard from a lot of our clients is they like the idea of not calling and giving their credit card or their account number over the phone. They love that they can go into Buildertrend and check out, if you will, like they would any online purchase. So it's not only created better cash flow and ease on our part, but it builds trust with the homeowner in a way that, is a great after effect, right?
Awesome. Yeah, and I can speak a little bit to our, I guess, before state as well. Kind of similar, like we had Excel files, we had being cost plus, essentially we have all of our receipts and our invoices that we're, sort of attaching our markup onto, and we were manually consolidating those into a PDF document and shipping those out. And so, yeah, being able to convert everything into Buildertrend, all of our bills are there. They're linked to the invoices, which that linking has been so huge for us in terms of being able to turn around and then pay our subs out. But yeah, so going from a pretty manual process to now something that's a little more streamlined and automated, and the homeowners know what to expect. That invoice comes in every single week. We invoice weekly, whether it's $200 or $90,000. They know that every week they're going to get an invoice for something. So yeah, it's been hugely transformative.
I love to hear like the consistency that you're bringing to your clients, and for just the transparency, because that makes a job so much more smooth, not only for your team, but for them to know exactly what they need to be helping push through so that there aren't some of the delays that could be associated with missing that payment. You hinted on it a little bit, Elizabeth, of like just both of you really, of like how this has helped your internal team as well, like know what the expectation is for them. But if you had to kind of say an internal unlock that has helped not only the accountability for your team, but like how they were able to kind of adapt to this new process and shifting away from the manual work that they were doing with some spreadsheets? Like, how have you kind of helped them understand why this process is really beneficial, not only for the clients, but also for our teams?
I can
Yeah.
jump in. Oh, go ahead, Alyssa.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that the biggest, I guess, unlock for us, being cost plus again, is that bill linking to invoices, and we've even had homeowners after the fact that basically have been with us. Let's say it's a 2-year project, and we've implemented this change in process about halfway through, and they're like, "Wow, what a change in terms of visibility that they can now see." Okay, I see that these 5 invoices are on. These 5 bills from the subs are now linked to this invoice. And when I pay this invoice, those subs are going to get paid. And just having all that detail has been huge because Jenna, you mentioned that it just leads to less questions. There's so often where homeowners will hold up on paying a bill because they just don't understand it. And they think, oh, I'll look at this later. I'll dig into this later. I don't want to look at this now, but when they receive it, they just see boom, 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 everything's itemized. Okay, let me pay this right on the spot because I have all the information I need. So yeah, that's been the biggest unlock for us, is just that linking of bills, just push them through and they can have all that visibility.
I mean,
Great.
and it flows the same for us as well. So we're the fixed cost, but then the change order process, et cetera, that's kind of like where the addition to the contract comes in, right? So by the little checkbox that's in the change orders that says invoice upon approval, it's a seamless transition. I don't have to do anything. It is completely automated, that once the homeowner goes in, views the change order and says, okay, I'm going to approve this, I understand it, it goes over as an invoice and is due immediately. And so just the time saving we have on average close to 20, I would say, to 25 change orders. That's an average job for us. So the unlock there and having the change orders due and be able to invoice them automatically was just a huge cash flow unlock and time saving unlock, which is, and speaking to, owners on this call or managers on this call, the time that your people will save by utilizing, the online payments, again, not going to the bank, not chasing the checks, but also the systems and the automation that can be provided through this. We were able to, grow the person that was sitting in that seat. Originally, it was me into different positions and take on more things and be more efficient and effective, which is immeasurable to a company.
I want to talk a bit about sort of that transaction, the payment experience for clients. You two just provided really great insights about kind of the point of decision, like what is the most effective way to invoice to maintain a strong cash position. But then there's also that point of transaction piece, like what is the most effective way to allow my clients to pay this request. How did online payments kind of change the tone of your client interactions or the level of trust during a project or even timeliness of payment? I know that's kind of been like the client experience has been a theme that I see popping up in the chat a bit. So for folks who might have, questions or curiosity about how this has gone over with your clients, curious to hear your thoughts.
Our clients loved it. It's Again, it gave them a sense of they had control. They didn't have to remember to write the check. They could hop on and do it in under, honestly, I think the whole entire process, even from setting up the bank account and storing it, is under 10 minutes, the initial payment. And then, moving forward, they'll get the email, they can click in the email and under a minute make their payment. So it's just become such a convenience, I guess would be the best word, for a lot of our customers, that they don't even find it. I noticed in some of the chats, we have a lot of high strong, I guess, if you will, customers that are very nervous about their payments. And what this allowed them to do is feel in control, which is something a lot of times, like when you walk into somebody's house or you drive around and you're asking for the check, they feel like they have to, stop what they're doing if they're working from home, whatever it might be, or be available to you. When this is, they can go in and make their payment at midnight if they want to. It's just, it's a convenience, and it builds transparency and trust and clarity across the board with the customer. That, I mean, if you think about it, Amazon didn't become popular because of, you're walking into a store and writing a check. They became popular because they made it easy. So it's the same thing Buildertrend has done with this, and the way that you can either be transparent with your invoicing or transparent with linking it to a schedule. They can just, it's easy.
Yeah, similarly on our side, I'd say overwhelming support from the client end. We've had very little pushback. We have maybe one sort of client holdout that likes to do their wire transfers or whatever the case may be. But for the most part, everyone's been thrilled about it. And yeah, there's that security element of, yeah, I'm not picking up the phone and giving my credit card to somebody. It reduces a lot of friction and touch points, frankly, that are necessary with the clients. I'm not having to follow up with them because they got the automated email, they logged in, they read it really quickly, they paid it on the spot. Where previously we may have been calling, emailing, hey, it's been 3 weeks since we sent that invoice, have you had a chance to da da da. So yeah, it's just reduced the need for those touch points and those follow-ups and things like that. Because they understand the process. Every week it comes in, and they have like 2 weeks to pay it. Those are our terms. Yeah, and just setting that standard has been wonderful, and everyone's pretty much hopped on board without much pushback.
And would love to ask actually about how you found success setting that standard, because obviously, Elizabeth, you said, first payment might take a few minutes from that point. If they've got a safe payment method, like it's all very quick, but I would imagine, teams who have one process in place with their clients today might wonder how to get from point A to point B. What did your teams do that led to kind of successful client buy-in and solid expectation setting, when you sell a job?
Yeah, I feel like from our side, we've had a number of projects, probably 10 or so projects that have launched from the get-go on Buildertrend Payments. So they sort of didn't know any differently. This is, the standard we set at the beginning, and everybody's all good with it. Some of those that we did have to convert over to this new process, quite a few of them were just relieved and like, oh, this is great. This is so much easier and so much better. So yeah, there really wasn't too much navigating we had to do. Again, I think we have one holdout that just, likes to do things a certain way, which is fine. But yeah, I'd say there wasn't too much back and forth or questions. I think Buildertrend has also done a good job of making it feel secure. When they're going in there and they're making their payments. So yeah, it's been pretty seamless.
We actually had online payments prior to switching to Buildertrend Payments, so it was a little more seamless for us. But overall, when we switched to online, there was no real transition. Again, people, because of today's world, I think it's very natural for that to be a process that you provide, if you will. So we've always made it as a positive, something that we can offer. You don't have to write a check. You don't have to, and we only do ACH. I am going to, be clear to that. We only do ACH, which costs us, but the cost to that, I think the max is, I don't know, like $15 or whatever for the payment. Imagine the time that your team, yourself, whatever would take just to go to the bank, or you got the stamp, that everything that goes along with it. So, for us, it just, I think most people, I can't imagine, you might have the holdouts of, somebody who's a little older or, something along those lines. But if 90% of your clientele do this, it's definitely going to be a game changer any way you slice it. And if you just are clear with them as to the why and you make it about them, we want to provide a better user experience for you, or we want, we want this to be easier for you so it's convenient. I can't imagine anybody having an issue with it.
It's great to hear. I mean, I know we've kind of hit on like really where we're seeing some of the bigger differentiations of how we've been able to impact cash flow with like removing some of that manual follow-up and really just offering your clients, homeowners, the ability to pay in different ways. So I'd like to ask, like, when we're talking about your entire billing process, like how have you looked at treating invoicing as less of a task and really incorporating it into your entire system of how you are presenting this to your clients?
Well, again, we integrated our invoicing and our draw schedule right into the job summary or the schedule that the homeowner sees. So for
Mhm.
us, it becomes like they just see it. They know that at this point it's due. It's linked to that date in their schedule. So for example, let's just say their start is supposed to be today, July 15th, and something happens with a delivery or our demo team and it gets pushed to the 17th. The invoice follows that schedule item. So it's now due on the 17th. They're not, and of course it moves at least a week prior. So it's not something that is not completely transparent. And it's, again, done seamlessly. We don't have to do anything. There's no management on our end. As long as our schedules are kept up to date and our project managers are, monitoring that, then the customers have complete and total transparency and how their invoices are working, what they're linked to, and when they're due. So, and they get the reminders automatically. They're getting the reminder a week ahead that, hey, this is coming. They're getting the reminder the day it's released. And all that is done behind the scenes without me having to do anything.
Yeah, and then on our side, in terms of making this feel like less of a task or a chore, I think again, having that visibility right up front on those homeowner invoices, they're not having to sift through all these PDFs, they're not having to dig too deep. It really just takes a lot of that sort of legwork or pressure of them to review everything because it's just sort of right there in a pretty little chart that they can just take a quick look at and be like, yep, looks good. So yeah, I feel like just having all the detail in one place up front really helps people to just kind of pull the trigger and pay that invoice on the spot rather than pushing it to the side and researching it later.
I'm curious, not to put either of you on the spot if you have other folks from your team, listening in today, but I'm curious to dig into any resistance to changing your receivables process that came from internal teams, from your own teammates. And, obviously change is a challenging thing to manage, especially so in the construction space where you are keeping so many balls in the air at all times. So what allowed you to be successful in rolling out a better process that your team has now been able to kind of follow in the long run?
Yeah, I think it was just sort of a case study of let's try this and let's see how it goes. And obviously making sure we had all of our ducks in a row before we, ever sent anything to the first client. But just sort of doing a case study like, hey, let's try this. Let's see if it does save time. Let's see if it works the way we think it'll work. And when it did, it's like, okay, this is great. We're on board. Let's do it. So yeah, and Buildertrend made it really, really easy and seamless to, I guess, sort of sell it.
Yeah, it was the same for us. Most of our team was on board. We had some, in particular, when we added the change orders and had them invoice upon approval and made them due upon approval, essentially. So the same day that they're approving is the day that we expect payment from them. We did get a little bit of pushback from our development team and our project managers because that meant they were now responsible for those change orders immediately instead of previously we had them due with their trim draw. which the reason that didn't work, just, for transparency, is let's just say they had a $55,000 trim draw and $80,000 in change orders. Nobody wants to do, and it's happened, nobody wants to have that big lump sum payment. So in the weeks leading up to the development and the start of their job, if the change orders are, approved in chunks or however they're entered, and then the homeowner is able to, pay that in convenience instead of in one large payment when you already have these draws coming out. But they saw very quickly how it made their jobs run smoother because we were able to order accurately. Things didn't get missed. It was transparent to both departments, and everybody was talking to each other just by simply having it seamlessly go in to that owner's invoices system.
Seems like you've really kind of just trying to tailor like more of a reactive or proactive, excuse me, approach of like how you are using like your system within Buildertrend to really understand like the pain points and avoid them for your homeowners as they are going through this process. How have you really kind of trained your team to collaborate in that sense so that there is that proactive nature of thinking through the project as a whole has really been kind of applied across departments in that example?
Yeah, well, we always try and put ourselves in the position of the client, right? So
Mhm.
if we were having that experience, what would we want? And, some of our clients don't have an issue with money, and some of our clients, what we're doing for them is a need, whether it's they're moving their children into the basement or they're moving their parents into their basement, right? That's a lot of the trend we've seen lately. So in trying to put ourselves within the client experience, which, you get into this and sometimes you forget, but we literally take it a step back and say, if it were us, what would we want? And that's how we start a lot of our conversations about a process and what does it look like. Let's just make sure that, I mean, our vision is to deliver a remodeling experience no one else can. And we can't do that if we can't empathize and put ourselves in those shoes. And you can easily see if people are struggling to pay you, it's probably one of two reasons. One is they don't have the money potentially, and they're just trying to buy time. Two is you've set it to be a standard that you'll accept it whenever. So as long as you have transparency going in, they have expectations, and your team follows that process as well and doesn't allow you to stray from it. Again, there's that 90-10 rule, right? But it happens without you even realizing it's happening. It just kind of happens organically.
Alyssa, what about you?
Yeah, I'd say the impact internally at our company has been significant in just our growth. So we've managed in 1 year, we've gone from 10 projects to 20 projects. We've able to hire additional staff. There's all these growth mechanisms that because we're able to scale, because frankly, we're not spending so much time doing things manually. It's been huge for us in our growth. And yeah, that's just such a testament to getting things, automated, getting things off the manual systems. We're able to grow, we're able to, give out bonuses, we're able to do things that we weren't able to do a year, 2, 3 years ago. And so, yeah, just the impact internally has been great. And there's just, even on the, between the project managers and our internal team, there's so much visibility there with the linking of the budgets to the change orders to just everything is all integrated together. And we're all able to kind of speak the same language and see the same things. So it's been really, really helpful in just kind of bringing everybody together onto, the one platform.
And Alyssa, just, I don't know if you realize what you said, 50% growth in a year. That's
Yeah,
incredible. Like,
enormous.
it's an incredible thing. And you're doing homes that take a lot longer. And, for the other people on the call, we do about 150 basements a year. So we manage, you guys are doing homes and you've doubled. And we went from, probably 35 basements to 150 in the last 5 to 6 years. So
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a huge testament of things that you both have been able to implement. It's not just the teams or the project managers that are working with those and like making recommendations. Like this, work that is oftentimes classified as like back end is really truly making an impact when you can nail it. So that's huge.
Yeah. Scalability, you hit the nail on the head. Scalability is key in Buildertrend. I know we're not trying to sell Buildertrend. Most people on here probably already use it, but they make it to make that possible because the systems are already there if you use them.
Mhm.
I think we'll do one more question here and then we'll come back to questions from our attendees in a moment. But what's something about invoicing or accounts receivables processes that you wish you had taken more seriously or changed much sooner for your business? So taken more seriously earlier or changed sooner?
Alyssa, go ahead. You take this one first.
Sure, sure. So, yeah, so I joined Northside about a year ago and pretty much hit the ground running with trying to make some of these changes right away. So I didn't sit in that discomfort for too long. But yeah, but I was able to see right off the bat just some of those bottlenecks and those slowdown areas and ways that we're already paying for Buildertrend. We're already, we're just not utilizing it to its full potential. So just jumping in and honestly working with the Buildertrend team has been incredible because you guys actually listen to our feedback. There's been a number of changes that I've suggested and that are now implemented and are making everybody's lives easier. So yeah, it's been a great journey in terms of just utilizing the software to its full potential, which most people don't even aren't able to realize.
Yeah, and for us, I think the main thing is just creating that predictability within your cash flow. So we know that, and the change order change, like, I don't know how a lot of companies do it, but for us, that was one of the most impactful changes to our cash flow, that we weren't trying to cover the ordering of the change orders within the draws. And it was, when the light bulb went off, it was kind of like, oh my goodness, like, why didn't we do this sooner? But it's systemizing. Like, that is the most impactful: scaling, systemizing processes, whatever you describe it as, SOPs, utilizing what you already have and making it a value to you. You can't measure that. I know a lot of people want to say, well, what did it increase? It's awesome that Alyssa can show a 50% growth. That's incredible to me. But you can't measure that process that's in place that you now don't have to question. It builds trust within your teams, into departments, and your customers and your owners.
Awesome. Yeah, I think, one of the things that we hear so consistently is it's just nice to have one system of record, or call it a system of engagement, like where all parties who are key to the success of a job have the same view of the same progress and the same numbers, and it's updated in real time with synced records. So there aren't side conversations or inconsistencies or questions about, did we get this? Where are we on that? So it's cool to hear that has been the case in your experience as well. We're going to transition for 5 minutes to see some of these receivables workflows in action. Whether or not the folks on this call are using these workflows today, this is a quick chance to kind of spot what's possible, I suppose, to be able to get more out of Buildertrend going forward from today. This will be very brief. So of course, like, our teams are happy to meet and chat through some of this at any point to get you up and running and positioned for success. But I'm going to share my screen very briefly. And we'll walk through just a couple of quick examples here. So in the first example, we won't actually pay this one, but let's imagine a team like Elizabeth's is invoicing from a fixed price job. So I pre-create my draws when I set up my job in Buildertrend. Here you can see that I've got my draw schedule all set up. when I send my estimate over to the budget to set my budget, those draws are drafted as draft invoices. So now that I've got and this is, imagine this is a job that's been running for some time. Now I've got my draw schedule set up. Each of these draws was tied to a schedule item. And so Elizabeth mentioned that their team has started doing this. That means that now my billing is tied in with the actual progress of my job. If my schedule moves, so do my draw dates. And what my client knows is that they expect to pay the 20% upon measure complete. And if the measure complete date changes, then okay, that draw date is going to change, but the milestone is consistent for them. My job costing budget is going to show as I go my invoicing progress. So I can see, and if I choose to share this with my clients, they can see kind of how far we've come in these different cost areas. And my client can follow along from their portal when they choose, which reduces the number of payment related questions, my team's going to get as we're trying to keep the job moving, right? If we look at an invoicing example, and this one will actually create one and pay it. So an invoicing example for an open book job. Let's say I've been getting a steady stream of invoices from trades over the course of the last week. And there was an interesting comment in the chat. I forget who it is. I don't have it in front of me right now, but how do we make sure that we're actually getting these bills from our subs and vendors in a timely fashion so that we can get those into a client invoice and bill our client and keep things moving? So maybe that'll be a good kind of Q&A topic. But I've got a steady stream of invoices from trades coming in. I've created bills for the invoices that have been reviewed before our cutoff. Here I have those open bills. When I'm ready now, in Alyssa's team's case, it's once a week. When I'm ready for that weekly invoice to go out, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create my next invoice. I can pull any of my open bills that have not yet been invoiced into this new invoice. I can apply my markup. And my payment terms are already here. So as soon as this goes out, it's going to say, due upon receipt, if those are in fact my terms. Now this invoice has the bill attachments here for my client's visibility. It's got, clear point of contact if anybody has questions related to payment. But when I send this to my client, I can share it via text message or email. As that email is coming through, since I'm on screen, I can show you that I just got a text message saying Sylvan Homes requests payment. There's a link right there to pay. So now as the client, I can go through, forgive the jumping around, but I'm going to log in as a client now. So as a client, maybe I'm already poking around in here because I like to be able to come into Buildertrend and see how things are moving on my job. I want to check in on the weekly update or daily logs that are getting published for me. But I've also gotten an email, I've gotten a text. Both messages have a link for me to proceed to make payment. So there really is no guessing about, okay, well, thanks for requesting the 20 grand, but how do I get this to you? And now, I know we also have a lot of different teams on the call, and we don't necessarily know, the nature of your jobs or your client relationships. It is important to know that, this portal is not a barrier necessarily to entry to make payment. For some jobs that are one and done, the relationship is more transactional. You might not be collaborating on such a custom build. Your client can use the notification link to make payment and check out, if you will, as a guest. But there's a lot of value for the teams doing more custom work or kind of longer duration jobs to be able to give clients this visibility in the portal. And I love, Elizabeth, you called this out earlier, where if you're tying things to your schedule and there's a payment coming up linked to a schedule milestone, your clients know that in advance. They have time to move funds if they want to pay out of a different account or whatever it is. And so this level of visibility and this being here all the time for clients to pop in on their terms and get the information they need can really be a pretty major leg up. Now, if I am, the client ready to make payment here, what I'm going to do is click pay. I can see the, invoice detail. If I want to dig into, what's on this invoice from the vendors and, do I trust Northside builders that they're billing me the right amounts and whatnot, like all this information is here and available to me. And when I'm ready to pay, I click pay. Now, if this is not my first payment, which in this case it's not, I've got saved payment methods here that are available to me. Now, if this were, in Elizabeth's case, fixed price job, maybe it's a one-off invoice for a change order and the amount is $1,000, I might want to pay by card because it gives me as the client, a 30-day float, and it's nice and convenient. I'm going to get some points. In this case, is a $20,000 payment. I, as the client, I'm going to say, this one's coming out of my bank, right? But here I am, I have my stored bank account ready and available to me. I click pay and I'm ready to go. Before I do that, I just want to show the form to make payment. If this is, first time payment or a client who might not want to store their payment method here, it's as simple as copying and pasting the account and routing information, providing the account type, and clients can make payment that way as well. In this case, I'm going to use my stored method. I'm going to click pay. I'm going to get this payment confirmation. And now, because I'm using kind of a funky demo account, I just need to do one thing to process it through. All right. Cool. So now I have this incoming payment. I'm going to refresh it. When I go back as the client, I'm going to look at, say I got logged out now. Shoot. The challenges of demoing. No worries. We're going to get logged back in as builder and we will see, where's the client, that we've now got this invoice was paid, 20 grand, all said and done. If I'm back in as the builder, I would also be able to track that in my payment report. Get logged in as the builder. See here if I can do that. And against my budget. So now immediately after the payment, not only have we all gotten email notifications saying you've got a payment on the way. In fact, I hope I have one right here. Here's what the client's going to get. Thanks for your payment. This is all complete. So you didn't have to confirm with the client that I got your check, we deposited your check, or we're going to deposit your check tomorrow. The client is in the driver's seat here. They are notified automatically when this payment goes through successfully. Your team gets a similar notification. So everybody's on the same page and looped in that like cash is on the way. The notification to your team is also going to tell you an estimated date of arrival. And you'll be able to drill into those details within your account so that you know exactly when those funds are going to hit your bank and exactly what you have to work with to turn around and pay your subs and vendors, get a new job started, whatever it is you want to do to put those funds to use for your business. So the last thing we'll just show here is, here is the payment I just got. If I click into here, I can see exactly where I'm at with this payment and when I can expect the money. Anybody on my team can pop in here and see the same. So hopefully now the system is communicating for me rather than me having to communicate around the system with my own team. And I feel like that's another thing that we hear time and time again is like, the fewer the touch points, the more time I have to spend on work that's going to really generate future value for the business and allow for that impressive, 50% growth in a year's time. So we'll stop it there and keep it brief for here and open it up for Q&A.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah, Brooks has been on top of a lot of the questions that have been coming into the Q&A. If you have more, please feel free to drop in. But one thing that I did see come through that we haven't had some discussion around is what advice would you give builders preparing to make a similar transformation that you both have described today? So Elizabeth, Alyssa, please chime in and give some thoughts around how that, like, similar attendees can make that happen.
I would say transparency with your customers. Make sure they know it's coming. Lay it out. Make sure they know what it looks like. Make sure they can utilize Buildertrend if they have help setting stuff up. Like, they can call Buildertrend as well. They'll help you, help them. I mean, that would be the expectation. If you're going to switch to something like this, again, put yourself in the customer seat. Drive through, pretend to be them. What does it look like? I noticed, Sarah Kate, you logged in as a customer, but you can also click that little home button there and get that customer experience. And so play with it, see what it looks like. That's what I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would say do it. Jump in with 2 feet. Yeah, I think, communication, it always comes back to that with, when you're working with clients, at the end of the day, you want to build something for them that they're happy with the process. And so, just communication is key throughout every step of transitioning any sort of process. But yeah, I'd say do it.
Doesn't hurt to try, right? I think that's like a mindset of life, especially with this. And yeah, as Elizabeth said, if you're not already utilizing the client portal, like, it's very easy to go in and see what your clients can see. And you can update settings of what information you do want passed through there too. It's very customizable based on the job and information that you are wanting to pass along. So if you have questions, Brooks is on our financial services support team, and they are dedicated to helping kind of work through workflows and understand kind of where pain points are at. So definitely tap them. And I believe we dropped in their contact information in the chat as well. That kind of kickstart the process if you don't really know where to begin and just kind of want to air out some of the pain points that your team is having, and we can kind of help guide you along the way of where to go and where to begin. I saw another question come through, but I want to answer it for everybody as well, because Brooks is again on top of it. Once the payment is received, will it automatically pay my trades? So everything that we've talked through today is specifically about how you are getting paid from your homeowner. So that we do have an offering of being able to pay out your subcontractors through our subcontractor payments line within Buildertrend Payments. Again, the financial services support team can help kind of answer any questions that you have through that. But that is a separate offering within payments as a whole.
And in terms of that automation, I would just say, if there are things that your team struggles with that you wish you could do, whether or not there is a clear-cut way to accomplish that with Buildertrend today, our teams would love to chat with you and understand the need a bit better. I think one of the advantages of having so much information running through one system is that it does make it a little bit easier to flip on some of those kind of more magical, automated moments that save your team additional time. So I'll drop my email in the chat, but would love to chat with any of you at any point about new opportunities you see on the horizon to squeeze more value out of the system.
And I'd like to touch on that because I joked when I was invited to this to be a panelist that I was shocked because I considered myself a giant pain in this process when I came in. And, I kind of want the people on the call to know that they do listen, they do take this advice, they really try and, plan Buildertrend and make the changes that work best for us as a builder. And I think that's important to know. Like, I was a giant pain in the butt when I switched to Buildertrend Payments. So, but they work with you and they're great at it. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, it's why we're here. I mean, this is a process that we know can take time, because a lot of the times how businesses are set up are vastly different from one another. So it takes time. We want to hear out the pain points. We want to find a solution that works for you, and we know that it's not going to happen overnight. Like it might take a little bit where you can really get your team up to speed and understand how we can best move forward, but you're taking the first step when you are doing the outreach or saying, yes, I'm going to start accepting payments online and have that connectivity. So don't leave the money on the table. Like, build that client trust and look for ways, and allow us to help you look for ways that can really make an impact as a whole. So I know we've been dropping through a few resources and we are over on time now, but thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Elizabeth, Alyssa, and Sarah Kate, for sharing insights of really how to make this impact. And yeah, spend some time with the resources that we've shared through. If you're interested in hearing more, or just want to look at ways that we can kind of help change your process, feel free to reach out to the financial services support team. And we'll be sending out a follow-up email as well with the recording if you want to pass it along to anybody else on your team.
Thank you all for being here. Thanks, Elizabeth and Alyssa.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all. Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.